Ready to explore the latest trends in real estate? What are innovators in building planning for the future? The Ralph Bivins Project digs deep into the minds of key players in the industry and discussions with today's thought leaders. I'm Ralph Bivins. As a journalist who's covered the real estate and development industry for decades, I invite you to join me as we probe for new ideas and projects that will be making headlines soon. We love to ask hard questions to interesting people. When you've done over 100,000 interviews, you seem to get enlightening answers. Don't forget to download and review this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your audio inspiration. You can also watch and subscribe on YouTube or visit realtynewsreport.com. Welcome. This is Ralph Bivins of the Ralph Bivins Project. We're here today to talk to Jim Carman. He's president of Howard Hughes Holdings. It's here in the Houston area, and they have quite a few major projects. The Woodlands, of course, is pretty worldwide famous now. 28,000 acres. Bridgeland, it's on the northwest side at 11,500 acres, and then Woodlands Hills, a little bit closer to Conroe and Willis, to the north of the Woodlands. But all in all, I think it's over 40,000 acres that Jim is responsible for. That's a lot of. I think it's 62 square miles that you have responsibility. You have there 3 times more in Manhattan. So, and there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of innovative things going on. It's been pretty amazing, Jim, what all's going on with your projects here. So welcome.
I'm very fortunate to be a part of it, and we're in our 50th year here in the Woodlands since it was founded, George Mitchell, 1974. And while I'm certainly lucky to be running some teams that are helping get this place even better and better, there's a ton of folks that came before us that we don't forget about. George Mitchell, of course, being the prime, but he had a lot of team that helped create what we get to take advantage of today, and we don't forget about that. So we stand on the shoulders of many giants here in the Woodlands, names that if you're in real estate in Houston, you would recognize, and we certainly keep honoring in our company.
50 years. Wow. That's amazing. Well, one of the new things there in the Woodlands is, the Ritz-Carlton residences, which has been pretty much a phenomenal story. There's not a hotel in the project, but the brand and the quality is still there. I think with the Ritz-Carlton, I know you have experience, I believe, doing Ritz-Carlton down in Grand Cayman also, but this is the brand there in the Woodlands, and it's been taking off with pretty phenomenal sales. I think the latest report I saw was $313 million worth of sales lined up there for the project, which is supposed to be, I believe, 1,111 units. Is that
111 units.
Wow, that's some sales velocity, man.
Yeah. We had, I think we announced 250 million in the first week, and really was in the first couple days. But tremendous sales. Obviously, we felt strongly that this was the right project, the right brand, the right site, great architect, great product. But you still never know till you know on these projects. And so it was really tremendous to see that success coming out of the gate, and it's continued. We've for the most part pulled most of the available units now off the market, and intend to sell those once the project's completed, because we know how amazing that this project's going to be when it opens up, and it's really going to, as great as it is on paper and in our model, in our sales office, I think when people put their eyes on the actual product, it's going to blow them away even more.
That's amazing. It almost sounds like a fairy tale. They were sales are too fast. We're going to pull it off the market a little bit because we know the price is going up. Well, I was looking at the numbers that came out of the box there. I guess in the first quarter or something, the 72 units and 313 million. I kind of did some pencil math, and it's like, what is that? Is that for like $4 million a unit or something? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, Ralph, as you know, in real estate, you do your underwriting, you try and find comps in the area that you can base your assumed cost and revenues on, and this one was really one that we just couldn't comp, and we really had to believe in the product and the site, and because nothing's been delivered like it in the Houston region, and we needed to achieve those kind of sales to make it work, and your market study, if we had gotten one, would tell you, there's no way that you could achieve the sort of things that we're achieving. So it's a testament to the project and to the team, but also to the Woodlands as well, that we can pull that off here and achieve really record sales, not just pace but price, that has never been seen in the Houston region.
That's amazing. I think when that story gets out, I don't. You think, man, that's going to turn some heads. That's going to change what people are thinking about building and in the city, in this whole area. If you can get that kind of performance, it's going to change things. I mean, it also does. Makes me want to ask is, wow, you haven't broken ground yet, right?
No, but we will be soon. We're making preparations for that right now, and I spoke earlier about those men and women that came before us in the Woodlands, and I talked to the team a lot specifically about this project. So you think about this site; it's on Lake Woodlands. It's got about 1,200 feet of lakefront on the site. Beautiful site, and people that had our jobs before us for the last 50 years could have easily pulled off amazing projects over that time period on this site, whether it was a great restaurant with great patio or some cool townhomes or things like that. But they knew that the right thing to do would be to wait, and they let us really reap the rewards of that, and being able to deliver a project that couldn't have been contemplated 5, 10, 15, 25 years ago, but now is achievable. And so it's a props to those people and the planners that were doing that, and that's a challenge to us as well as we get into Bridgeland, particularly the scale of these projects, the scale that we develop at, and the timelines really require us to think a lot like that. It's unique in business and in the industry, but it's also a lot of fun, and it allows us to think more generationally on our developments and do some things that really a lot of developers don't have the ability to do because of some constraints that we don't. And so it's a heck of a lot of fun and rewarding when we're able to do so.
Yeah, with this velocity and the prices you're achieving, it makes me want to wonder, why not do Ritz-Carlton number 2 or something like that.
Yeah, well, definitely stay tuned. I'm sure we'll be talking more in the future. It's really a great time in the Woodlands in general, from really enhancing what already exists here. It's not just the Ritz-Carlton project. That's obviously a great example, but we have out the window, you might not be able to see, but with tower cranes back here, we're building One Riva Row, which is a luxury multifamily project on the waterway right across from Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion. Those residents will be able to sit on the elevated pool deck and listen to the concerts all throughout the season. A project again that elevates the the for rent multifamily here in the Woodlands beyond what's ever existed. And then you look at say the work we're doing at the Grogan's Mill Village Center, where the original Village Center of the Woodlands, built in the late 70s, had, it's aged obviously and had fallen into disrepair. We didn't own it, and we were watching it and concerned about it, and we're able to come up with a pretty innovative way to reinvigorate it, which was to work with the good folks at Montgomery County to we went in, bought that vacated Randall's box. We bought the retail next to it, and we're going to convert that into a new library and community center for the Woodlands, state of the art, as well as renovate the retail piece and get those folks reinvigorated. So it's an exciting time in general. I think we haven't really talked about renovations or going into the older buildings in the Woodlands. It just hasn't been required, right? I mean, nothing here is older than those 50 years, or even most of it's even much less younger than that. So, but it's going to be something we got to pay attention to going forward, no question.
Yeah, that's Class A buildings don't stay that way forever and ever. After 50 years, that you got to do something to them to keep them in that status.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears real quick and talk about Bridgeland. It's on the northwest side. It's the Grand Parkway outer loop out there. It's really come along, and it's, of course, Bridgeland. The RC Elko. They do the rankings of the best-selling master plan communities in America, and this is top 20 at least. And you've been selling a lot of houses out there. It's really good results on single-family sales and everything. And also, again, I guess the big news that's probably going to been at the top of a lot of people's mind is was Chevron. Chevron, of course, the big news last just a few weeks ago announced they're going to move their headquarters to Houston from California. And of course, by last year, I think you sold 77 acres in the Bridgeland to Chevron, and so people are going, wow, what's going to happen with that 77 acres in Bridgeland with Chevron being here?
Yeah. I mean, that announcement was huge for the Houston area. Very excited to get them here, and it makes just too much sense for them to be headquartered in the Houston area. We were very excited to get them to Bridgeland. They did a really exhaustive search of the Houston area when they were looking to buy some land, and we had the great fortune of being able to sit down and really explain Bridgeland and the again, that generational view that we take on these large scale master plan communities. We have the unique ability to create communities that really enhance people's lives if we do it right, if we take the time to plan it and patience to develop it in the correct way. And they really were able to understand that vision and understand that it's not just an if, it's a when on Bridgeland for that to come to fruition, and throw down the flag there. Whether ultimately what gets built there, whether it's the HQ or not, is certainly much TBD. We're happy to know that they're coming to the Houston area, and certainly would love to have them there. But whatever they end up building on that facility, whether it's just a typical office or research and development or anything, it's a great partner to have in Bridgeland. Bring highly educated, high-paying jobs. In general, Bridgeland, the master plan there is not that different from the Woodlands in terms of becoming a regional job center. and certainly a job center for our residents that live in the community. So in the Woodlands today, more people commute to the Woodlands than commute out of the Woodlands.
Oh man. Oh man.
A lot of people would be surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
But our population goes up during the day, then it goes down. And the George Mitchell and team had a vision to not just create a bedroom community to Houston when they put together the plan for the Woodlands. It had to start out that way, certainly, but now I'm sitting in our headquarter tower, 31 stories. You see a lot of office around me. I'm in the Woodlands Town Center, and it is a job center for the region. But for the Woodlands, we have 1.5 jobs per rooftop here in the Woodlands. So it means that if somebody lives in the Woodlands, hopefully they have at least an opportunity, whether they, a lot of people work in Houston still or elsewhere, but at least they have an opportunity to work here and have very short commutes, be able to have that great quality of life that we promote in our communities. And Bridgeland's is the exact same plan. It may be a surprise to people that our plan is ultimately to have 1.5 jobs per rooftop in Bridgeland, located within the community there.
I think you've got it. Was it 925 acres devoted to kind of a town center, more commercial area?
Yeah. We call that Bridgeland Central. It's right there at Grand Parkway. We have 2 exits there at North Bridgeland Creek, and then Bridgeland Creek Parkway that are at Grand Parkway that will be the western side of that Bridgeland Central, 925 acres. Chevron is going to be located in that location. We're under construction with our first retail restaurant complex, HEB. We announced the first timber office building in the Houston region, so that's located there within that Bridgeland Central. But it's really just the tip of the iceberg. 925 acres is hard for a lot of folks to sort of visualize the scale, but ultimately it'll be that downtown of Bridgeland Central or Bridgeland that will provide those jobs for our residents. We've got about 22,000 residents that live in Bridgeland today.
Wow.
But it's important to note that our build out projection has around 70,000 people.
Wow.
So you mentioned, top 20 in sales in Bridgeland. We have been for the better part of a decade in the top 20 or the top 10. But what I think a lot of folks, again, maybe don't realize is that get used to seeing that, because we will be in the top 20 for sales or top 10 for at least another decade, if not longer. We've got a long way to go on the residential side. And those rooftops are going to bring commercial amenities, and they will bring more jobs. And I think more companies will start to realize, just like Chevron, that when they locate within our community, they can provide their employees with that quality of life, short commutes, access to great education and safety and outdoors amenities that we provide in our communities that are really unrivaled. So it's
amazing that 22,000 people have lived there. When I went along, let me digress in the old story here, but yeah, a long time ago, and I was a journalist here in Houston. Some guys, I don't know if it's who was with me, because that could have been, Mike Richmond or somebody from the Woodlands, but we went out there and saw this land, it's a big, and there was a guy, kind of a caretaker guy that was there, and he lived and had a trailer and stuff, and he said, yeah, this is it. This is where it's going to be. It's going to be I don't know if they even named it Bridgeland yet or not, but so he said, come on out, we'll walk around, I'll show you this stuff. And there's creek, it's kind of pretty woodsy and things. And he put on, leather gloves, and he got this big, scary looking club. And he said, hey, there are wild boars out here, and I've had to tangle with them a few times. It's amazing that what's happened in the years that followed, where you're going now. I don't know. I'm really, I was looking at it. Okay, well, when Chevron in San Ramon, California, there in Northern California, They had 92 acres for their headquarters there, and they've sold that. And so I think, hey, if you, and they didn't really didn't develop all of the 92 acres, so there's plenty there. So I think 77 it could hold a headquarters campus, and I guess ExxonMobil, their headquarters is, what is that, 15 miles or something to the east of the Bridgeland or something, along something like that. And
well, just out the bus, I can see out my window here, the Exxon campus here, outside the Woodlands.
So it's close. It could happen, and of course, I know it's been. They announced that the CEO, Mr. Worth, is going to be moving his offices this year to, I guess, their downtown high rises there, which it just seemed like the whole thing is looks good. Looks good for Houston to have we are the energy capital of the world still. They may be in transition with energy, but we're the energy capital of the world. Speaking of energy, I want to go back and talk a little bit on that. The green building there. Is it Bridgeland Green? The
timber
building, mass timber building. That's very innovative. The first one, I think, for an office building. There may be some on the campus somewhere or something. But tell us a little bit about the Bridgeland Green mass timber building in Bridgeland.
Yeah, so it's under construction now. Our timber materials, which are primarily coming out of two locations, some in Europe, some out of Vancouver, should be arriving on site within the next month. Actually, our team's going up next week to visit the Vancouver facility where our materials are coming off. But it's mass timber is really what it sounds like. The structure of the building is built from wood down to the columns, the beams, the flooring materials, the deck. It's all wood. Shear walls in the building. These are laminated timber products. What does that mean? Well, it's obviously very environmentally sustainable. Carbon footprints are improved over traditional building materials, but it's also beautiful. We're going to have our Bridgeland office there, satellite office, and we're going to take advantage of that beauty by having exposed structure in the ceiling and the columns. And so it's really a unique look that a lot of places, Europe's been doing it a while, Canada, you're seeing it more and more in the United States, but isn't as prevalent here in the Houston region. It is more expensive to build. It's harder to build with. It takes more planning. It has complications in terms of just coordination, but we believe it's more than worth it. And we've seen great success. We're already 80% leased in the building.
Wow.
And the rates, again, market study I mentioned earlier, no market study would have told us that we could achieve the rents that we're achieving there in Bridgeland on the very first office building in Bridgeland. But the average rents in that building, Ralph, believe it or not, are higher than the average rents in this building.
Wow.
And so these for the right tenants, they understand the benefits of the beauty and the sustainable features, and are buying into the project. So we'll be delivering that project next year. It's going to be a beautiful project on the exterior as well. Lake Plato design, and we're excited to show it off. And I think it announces, hopefully, to the Houston community that Bridgeland is here to stay. It's different than what you might see up and down Grand Parkway. This is going to be a community that's built out over the next several decades, and is again something that Howard Hughes is going to stay in for generations, and make sure that it follows the same principles that we've done here in the Woodlands.
Yeah. Of course, Lake Plato is really out of San Antonio. They're really out front and doing sustainable projects. I
Yeah.
believe I've read that you have quite a tremendous cistern type of system there. Will be there.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Yeah. It's got a 10,000 gallon rainwater collection system that water will be used to um, in the fixtures in the building as well as for irrigation. It's just one of the ways that the building's sustainable on it, in addition to obviously the timber material.
and solar panels make use of those.
Yep. Yep. Solar panels. Uh, it's going to be, I think it's lead gold with Fitwell. Fitwell, most people will recognize lead now, but Fitwell's still relatively new in the marketplace. But that's another measurement system, really more geared toward the end user health and wellness of the actual occupants of the building, and less focused on the sustainable features. But of course we got the lead gold attribution as well on the building.
That's phenomenal, man. That's phenomenal. The Yeah, and of course, with Lake Flato, and with with what you're doing with the Ritz Carlton, with Robert A. M. Stern Architects. Uh, that seems to be kind of you're doing kind of what kind of what Gerald Hines kind of innovated, that hey, let's go get these first
Yeah,
class architecture, and it pays in the long run.
yeah,
I mean, with what
absolutely.
happened at Ritz Carlton, you think, wow, this getting a quality like Robert A. M. Stern, man,
Yeah.
it pays. It makes business sense, not just aesthetics and great looking buildings. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's been a real pleasure working with Robert A. M. Stern's group, and they've created a design on that Ritz that I think the whole region should be proud of. Hopefully, certainly is translated with the buyers, will fit well within the Woodlands. They were they really, as you know, come in and study the site and in the area. They know it well, but they were inspired by John Staub's architecture down in the city, and a lot of the custom homes that he had delivered, those kind of very unique Texas estate look, and brought that to the Ritz. So if you Google the Ritz, the Woodlands, you'll see that architecture style, and probably harken back to John Staub a bit. But yeah, whereas Lake Flato, we of course we're master plan community developers, so we do products of all types, of all sizes within our communities. They don't all require the architecture of a Ramza,
yeah,
uh, but what we always strive to be is best in class. Whether we're building a daycare, a medical office building, a surface park multifamily, a high-rise condo, everything in between. We want it to be best in class, and luckily, due to the unique capabilities and also the scale that we develop at and the timelines that we work at, we can pull that off.
yeah. I mean, and looking towards the future. I mean, you talked. We talked a little bit earlier about the long term horizons. We're talking about here with when you have a project of this size, you're going to go through several economic cycles for sure, and take other things. It takes a while to get there. But it struck me when you're talking about going back to the Grogan's Creek Center, uh, and from the '70s when the Woodlands began. That was, and of course it had those wonderful things like, oh, we're gonna a lot of these lots that the homes are going to be, or will have preserved forests on them. We're not going to come in and scrape it and do St. Augustine grass everywhere. That's pretty. That was pretty innovative, and of course, Mr. Mitchell,
Yeah.
innovative guy. Some people call him the father of fracking, and he everything that was pretty
Yeah.
innovative. He did there, but that whole concept you mentioned, as we look at the future, hey, we're looking at the buildings in the Woodlands and doing redevelopment of buildings that were built in the early stages of it.
Yeah.
That's a milestone.
Yeah. Yeah. And George Mitchell, although, obviously we know some of the specific items that he and his team implemented in terms of forest preserves and landscape preservation. I think at the very core of it, as he looked around the world and in the country back in the 60s and early 70s, he just had a vision that he felt like he could build a community that was more thoughtful, more thoughtfully developed, to create a symbiotic relationship between nature and the residents, and just change the world. And I think 50 years later, the Woodlands has been named best place to live in America several times. Certainly, I take advantage of that. Raise my family here. Our headquarters is here, and I walk my daughter to school in the morning, and 5 minutes later, I'm sitting in this office building. It's just an amazing vision, but we continue to learn from him, and yeah, we father of fracking. A lot of people. I'm going to stand up and grab a few books here, but he. Some people might think that that's a dichotomy of thought between fracking and oil and gas, and then being such a focused on sustainability. But for us, we understand exactly where he was at. He didn't see that. He really was a forward thinker. But I'll promote a few books. George Mitchell. This is written by Lawrence Duffy. It's a great read. It kind of explains his beginnings. This is a wonderful book as well. A little hard to find, but The Woodlands by Roger Gladys, former president of
Roger
the company
Gladys,
here. Talks a lot about the master planning principles. This is a good read, nice bathroom read. You can get to. It's another one, and then Design with Nature. That Ian McHarg. That's probably a name that most people don't recognize, but it's been around for time. That's kind of the original landscape architect of the Woodlands that George went and stole and brought down here, and had him put that together. But these are all the type of books that when we have new employees start, or when I started with a company over almost 12 years ago, you're expected to start to understand. Hey, this may have been how you did it in the past or where you were. Let's bring some good things and good ideas, but please understand that these communities are going to be built in a different way and with a different long-term vision than maybe you're used to. And it's unique and it's a lot of fun. And in real estate, I just can't imagine a better place to be in creating these communities.
Yeah, it's one thinking of the long term, and Lawrence Steffi wrote that biography, the first one he showed us. He was. I know him a little bit. He's at the Houston Chronicle, and of course he's an Aggie like you are, man. It's Texas A&M.
Right. So was George.
Yeah. Hey, last question, your last thought when we were talking about this long-term thing, this because I don't. Bridgeland is going to take a while to build out, and then of course there's your company Howard Hughes also has this project that's just begun I'm interested in. I'd like to go out there and see it sometime in Phoenix. I think is it called Terra Vallis?
Terra Bellis, yeah.
37,000 acres. Man, that's
Yeah,
huge, huge. You know, it's like
yeah,
I don't know when's that going. How the build out on that? They've just started construction, I think, and I don't
yeah.
think anybody lives there yet. But still, you know, we're talking about what 2060 or something like that. By the time that's
Longer, yeah, yeah. I mean,
longer,
we've got a 75-year build out plan, you know, plus or minus.
the
Um,
next century and the next century.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Unbelievable.
and it's hard to, you know, I know it's difficult for a lot of people that are not in real estate, particularly, to understand the scale of that. But 37,000 acres, you know, you're talking about, you know, that's, I don't remember exactly the size of Manhattan, but that's probably at least 2x the size of the island of Manhattan.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and and
I think
so
it's 20, you know, yeah, it's 22, 22 acres, I think, or something like that.
yeah,
I
uh,
don't know. Okay, go ahead.
but the scale is just is massive, and it's so it's a big challenge, but you know it's a huge opportunity to create these communities that will stand the test of time and really thrive for the residents and the businesses that ultimately be there. We've got the patience and to do it and pull it off. It's hard for most folks to you know go purchase that kind of size of land. A lot of people ask, well, how do we reproduce the woodlands? Right? We get visitors from around the world that come here and come to our office and ask how to do that. I mean, you know, purchase 28,000 acres on the outskirts of one of the largest cities in the world and develop it patiently over 50 years, and you can do it too. Um, it's it's not it's a lot easier to say than to actually pull off. But yeah, Terra Vallis will be one of the master plan communities in Howard Hughes portfolio that we're taking that model that was done in Columbia, Maryland, or the Woodlands, and now Bridgeland, and to create these special places.
Yeah. And it goes beyond just a place to live, as you point out. It's we're talking about cities that it's going to be a city with employees and
Oh yeah,
commerce and much more. You know, total city creation, I guess. You know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, master plan community development is still means something to us. You know, that means that we're working just as much with the school districts and the hospital districts as we are on lot development or leasing. It means that we're thinking about outdoor amenities, parks and trails and pools. It means that we've got to work with religious establishments to come and serve the future resident population, nonprofits. You know, master plan community development to us means that every aspect of the residents and the businesses' lives that call these communities homes are thought about and implemented. And it it takes it takes folks with that mindset and that time frame, um, but certainly is very rewarding, as you can see. And I think you're going to see Bridgeland. You know, it's an overnight success after almost 20 years of development. But I think people are starting to understand now what that vision is, and you're just going to see more and more coming over the years, and people are going to get used to hearing about all the great things that are happening in Bridgeland.
Very good, Jim Carman. Thanks a lot for talking with us. I really enjoyed it, and we'll be in touch. We need to check back again and get you back here and give us an update, and not too long from now. Okay.
Anytime, you appreciate you and love seeing your material and keeping up to speed with what's going on. And so thanks for all you do, and certainly anytime.
Thanks, Jim.
All righty.